Hello there. Welcome back to You, Me, and
The podcast.
And today we are talking about things that keep us up at night. It could be trivial, it could be in-depth, it could be nerdy, it could be a lot of things. So
She said nerdy because she knows mine is going to be nerdy.
some of mine are nerdy as
Okay.
But yeah, so we're going to be talking about things that keep us up at night. And I mean, there's a lot, but I think there are certain things that come up more than once.
We'll make this a series, honestly. We could go through it one by one. Yeah.
Things that keep us up at night. Do you want to get started? First thing that keeps me up at night is freaking game theory, you guys. Well, not even game theory. It's more so the prisoner's dilemma, like we were talking about in the other episode.
Okay, can you describe the prisoner's dilemma?
Of course I can.
For me.
Of course I can. According to Google, the prisoner's dilemma is a situation where the individual decision makers always have an incentive to choose in a way that creates a less optimal outcome for the individuals as a group. So basically, the whole gist of all of this is that due to imperfect information, you will end up choosing. So basically, the way that it goes is that there are like two prisoners, right?
Okay.
So two people that committed a crime together, right? And so these two people, they commit the crime together. They're separated, right? So they're faced with a dilemma. So because they're separated, right? So prisoner A, right? If they confess, but if they both confess, they get 5 years each, right?
Okay.
If prisoner 1 or prisoner A confesses, they get 20 years, but the other person gets nothing.
Okay.
Right? So like if prisoner A confesses and prisoner B remains silent, then prisoner A will get 20 years and prisoner B will get nothing. Right? And then vice versa is the same. So if prisoner B confesses and prisoner A remains silent, it's vice versa. So like prisoner B would get 20 years in that instance,
Right.
and then prisoner A would get nothing in that.
So this reminds me of, there's this one game that became like super popular where people were making decisions and they would just get coins. It's like the same concept, but yours is like on the example of prisoners, right?
Well, this is like a theory,
right?
that we use a lot in like
but like it's also like a game of trust, sort of like what is the other person gonna do.
So it's all based on imperfect information. So
right.
But so those are your three options, right? But the most optimal option would be if they both remain silent, they get no sentence.
I see.
Right? So they both would get 0 years.
Wait, is this like is this like only one trial? Like, you know, the officer only goes to each prisoner once, or is it iterated across like 10 sessions, I guess?
No, it's just like what like you have to like they give
just
you
an option.
Options. Yeah.
Okay.
So basically what the prisoner's dilemma is that,
so this is slightly different than what I was talking about. Okay.
So you don't know. So like you and I, if we were to like commit a crime together, right? So you wouldn't know what I'm going to do, right? Because if you confess and if I confess and you don't, I'm in for 20 and you're in for nothing.
Right.
So
it's just a question of greed too, right? It's just like, what is the best option for myself?
Well, yeah, but like the thing is that like the most optimal outcome was that we both remain silent and then we both get out of it without like remaining unscathed, basically, right? Yeah. So because I don't know how you're gonna like what your decision is gonna be, and you don't know what my decision is gonna be, the lack of information will make us both confess.
I see.
Because 5 years is better than 20 years.
Right.
Yeah. So that keeps me up at night, not because it's not like the trolley problem, right? Yeah. Where it's like, oh, like, you know, that although sometimes I
still runs in your head sometimes.
Yeah. But my biggest thing with that is like imperfect information will cause you to take situations, right? It may cause you to make not the wrong decision, but not the most efficient or optimal decision, right?
Right.
And so that's why to me, like, I'm very much about, okay, let's gather as much information as
Yes.
possible
And make the most
and
informed
then
decision.
and make the most informed decision. And
Yeah.
so that sometimes keeps me up at night, because it's like, oh, like, how do you like make sure that you can't, right? Like, that's the whole thing. Like, you can't make sure that you have like all the information. But yeah, that's a little
But sometimes if
spiral I do
so
sometimes. Like, the prisoner's dilemma in general
Yeah.
is just like about, like, the lack of information. And I think
it's also human psychology.
Yeah,
like
and that too.
How
So-
the decisions are made based off of the knowledge you do have, and it's a
Yeah.
very human thing to do. To and there are patterns, right?
Yeah.
Like serial killers, the way they profile criminals and serial killers, and Ted Bundy and all these cases that actually brought our system to what it is today in terms of keeping files and whatever on all these people. It's just
Also,
Yeah.
a little random tidbit that I recently saw on TikTok. So there was a cat burglar
Mm-hmm.
who, like, had stolen up to like $7 million worth of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, she recently got out of jail,
Mm-hmm.
and she was like telling, like, he went on a podcast, right, and did kind of like a tell-all.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, like, whenever I would like go anywhere, I would either wear shoes that were one size too big or one size too small, right?
Okay.
And like the whole thing's like really fascinating. Like,
Okay.
shoes, like, it's very like the little things that she would say. She would be like, when I was like knocking on people's doors to see if they were home, I would be dressed in scrubs. And that's because I would be like, oh, I'm here to pick up Sammy and Rufus for
so
the
she
pet
had
spa,
an alibi
right?
at all times.
It's so interesting
Okay.
to think about how, like, like how you skirt around like the profile, right?
Right. But then now people like forensic science like is smart enough to catch up on
And
that.
that too,
So
right?
it's just like, even if you try to outsmart the system, you can't outsmart science. That's just how it is.
Yeah, but I'll send you the podcast, because it was very interesting. Because like, usually, like, I'm not an avid watcher of that podcast, but that podcast episode I watched the entirety of.
Yeah.
Because I was like, it's
interesting, dude. It's
so
very
interesting,
fascinating stuff. I took a
And-
forensic science class in high school. Obviously, it was very boo-boo. It was very like fundamentals.
Yeah.
We had like a box full of like dirt, and we were like looking for clues, whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of that class, I learned that if I really wanted to, Jasdeep, I could come in at the end of the day. So tonight, if I just come in with my tools, I could literally use tape and sort of find your fingerprints on everything and age, like, see how cold the coffee is in your coffee mug, right? And use all those clues and hints and kind of map out how your day went from hour 1 to hour 24. And that is
It's
the craziest
fascinating,
thing.
yeah.
That's the craziest thing to me, is that they have so much technology now that it's really hard to get away
Even
with anything.
profiling is so cool.
Yeah.
Like, did you ever watch Criminal Minds?
No, but I've watched similar shows. I get the premise.
Criminal
I
Minds,
get the premise.
dude. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like, it was.
I've watched The Mentalist.
Or
So-
The
yeah,
Mentalist
yeah, right.
is an amazing. Or my favorite, my personal favorite, like, crime like type show
Uh-huh.
is Psych.
Okay.
Have you ever
No.
seen Psych?
No.
So basically, he's his dad's a cop, and his dad like made him hyper aware,
Okay.
and so he pretends like he is a psychic.
Okay.
And he helps like it's based in Santa Barbara, so he helps the SBPD
Okay.
with cases and stuff.
Okay,
And
yeah.
it's a very,
There's a
like,
lot of shows like that,
it's
but
a very
I get
kitschy show.
Yeah.
But it's one of my favorites because
It
it's
kind of reminds me of Dexter.
kind
but
of
Dexter is-
it's not
yeah.
as like dark as Dexter
Yeah.
is. Dexter
That
is very
was a
dark.
whole different level.
Psych is kind of like funny. It's kitschy. It's
Yeah.
not like super like.
But the reason why these shows are so enticing to watch and so addictive is because of the way they use logic and all the resources around
Yeah.
them to sort of like piece the puzzles, right?
Yeah.
And get that together. I don't know how we got on this topic, but like I need to get back into those psych criminal.
Yeah, like
shows.
those type of shows. Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes you think even more. Like we recently started watching The Lincoln Lawyer.
Okay.
So I used to watch a lot of like CSI as a kid because like my parents wouldn't let me watch like certain cartoons, but they would let us watch like CSI. It was so crazy because
Right.
it's like, bro, like we're looking at like dead bodies and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so I love watching like crime-esque shows, but I also really like I loved. Have you ever seen How to Get Away with Murder?
Yeah.
So good.
Right.
So good.
Right.
So good. Oh my god. I also
What
love
aspect of like that show really got to you?
two things.
Mhm.
I love where you see the beginning and the end,
Okay.
and then it comes in the middle.
Yep. So the storytelling aspect.
The storytelling, but
Okay.
the way that they do the storytelling, I think is phenomenal.
Okay.
I love the cast.
Mhm.
I loved I love Viola Davis. Like
Okay.
she's such a phenomenal actress. I felt like the character development of
Mhm.
like all the characters was done really well.
Mhm.
Just like overall, like it was such a good show. The only other show that I feel so passionately about
Mhm.
would be like, have you ever seen Person of Interest?
No.
You would really like Person of Interest.
Why? Why would I really like
Because
Person of
Person
Interest?
of Interest is, I'm not going to give away too much of the show,
Okay.
but it's basically like AI
Mhm.
cross sectioned with like crime.
Okay.
You would trust
Okay.
me when I say this, you would really enjoy it.
I'm a techie girl. I like
You
my
would
tech shows.
really enjoy Person
You
of
know
Interest.
what really piqued my interest lately? I binged it on my trip to Japan. It's called The Three Body Problem.
Okay, I've never
Have
seen
you heard of it? So
No.
it just came out on Netflix. It is insane, Jasdeep. I'm not gonna give away too much, but it brings in a lot of science with sci-fi. It's a sci-fi show. At the end of the day, it's a sci-fi show, but they're bringing in actual problems and scientific sort of concepts into the show. And actually, my response to today's question, what keeps you up at night? It's a part of that show, or it's encompassed in the show's sort of meat. So, but yeah, you should definitely watch the show. I don't know if you're into like the sciencey part of things,
I'm
but the
not
storytelling,
into the sci-fi.
the storytelling is really beautiful. And even if you're not into sci-fi, it is such an interesting concept that it will hook any kind of viewer. So they've done a very good job.
The only like sci-fi type of like show I've ever watched intentionally
Mhm.
was Stranger Things.
Oh, okay.
Because,
Okay.
dude, as soon as I watched like the first episode of Stranger Things, I was like, oh, I'm hooked.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. It's Stranger Things. Come
It's
on.
Stranger Things.
That's
you
like
know?
a universal truth.
I
Stranger
have not
Things-
met a single person who doesn't like Stranger
Right.
Things.
Yeah.
Right. But all of that, like to back it up, we started watching. I really like crime shows, but then I also really like lawyer shows.
Okay.
I think we talked about this.
I got that.
I've seen Suits. I'm going through The Good Wife.
Okay.
So we started watching The Lincoln Lawyer,
Okay.
and The Lincoln
Is that on
Lawyer.
Netflix, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it only has like 2 seasons.
Okay.
It's so good. It's so
Okay.
good because it has that crime aspect.
Sell me, sister. Sell me.
So it has like the crime aspect, right?
Uh-huh.
But it also has like that mystery aspect. It's a little bit on the heavier, like not super heavy, but like it's on the heavier side.
Okay.
Whereas like Psych is like kind of light. It's like there's like not that many jokes or anything like that, but it's very like clever.
Mm-hmm.
And for the longest time, I didn't watch it because I like couldn't get into it.
Mm-hmm.
But once you get into it, it's like it's good. It's good.
Okay, so I can't get into those kinds of shows that are just like running on and they have like their own sort of episode arc, you know, per episode or whatever, like their own little storyline that kind of like wraps up in like a nice, neat bow tie
Yeah.
sort of thing. And that's what like we used that was very popular back in the day, right? Like The Mentalist used to be like that. Dexter was also like that.
That was the cool part about like watching The Lincoln Lawyer because
Yeah.
it's continuous.
Yeah.
So
Like it has a storyline to it. That
yeah,
it's, like,
I
adding
like
on
I
to
like
it.
half and half. I like The Good Wife for that because there are storylines
Yeah.
that are like present that you have to watch them in order
Right,
for.
right.
But then also they have like mini story arcs.
I think it's like a mood thing too. Like
Yeah.
if I'm like, you know, eating my dinner and I want to watch something, I don't want to focus too much, right? I just like want to be like half focused and whatever. So maybe something lighthearted, like, you know, I watch Bob's Burgers or
Yeah.
like The Simpsons or something
Yeah.
super lighthearted and whatever comedic. But
Yeah.
yeah, for me personally, I don't do the lawyer stuff. Like I don't do the politics. I am more of a techie, sci-fi.
We're very different in that.
Yeah,
in that
very
aspect.
different.
Did you ever watch Scandal?
No. I haven't
Scandal
seen
was
Scandal.
super popular when we were younger.
Was it?
And it's like that political. I'm so into that.
Yeah.
Because I was like, if I in another life,
Mhm.
I would have loved to like get
Choose a
into
different
like
career.
government or
Yeah.
like law. I wanted for the longest time.
Mhm.
I took a career quiz. Did you ever do the career quizzes?
No.
In school, you never did like a career
maybe, but I don't remember. I
So
wouldn't
my
remember.
career quiz told me that I should be a lobbyist,
Oh.
which makes sense.
I could see that. I could so see that, dude.
Yeah,
I
and
could so see that for
so
you.
it was lobbyist or it was lawyer.
Okay.
So those were like my top two, and then I became
At one point, I was
podcaster.
gonna get like I did want to do some FBI work or forensic science. Like that's like the only part of the government I can see myself joining into, only because the forensic science part, I think it was a criminal profiling along with the science. Like both of those come together. So
Yeah.
the like the human psychology, like intertwined with the science, right? And being able to catch bad guys by literally retracing their steps.
Did
And
you ever watch Quantico?
no.
I think that's why I'm attracted to a lot of those shows as
Mm-hmm.
well. And I think that I think about the prisoner's dilemma, especially when I'm watching those shows, just because it's part
I
of.
think you're a very like human psychology kind of gal.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think I just.
It's very fascinating. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
And I think also like power is fascinating and how people use that, because like
Mm-hmm.
even like the political type shows, it's very like it's very intriguing to me.
Yeah.
And it
How
always has
people
been.
make decisions based off of
Exactly. Yeah.
what they want, and everybody wants something different.
Yeah, because like
right?
Scandal was like, dude, Scandal was such a like trip, because the whole premise of Scandal is that Olivia Pope, who's Kerry Washington,
Okay.
is a fixer. So she fixes like PR and stuff.
Okay.
So like she basically like will turn like people's like opinion on like a like there was this one episode where like somebody that was running for office got caught in a scandal where he was like sleeping with a prostitute.
Okay.
Like
right.
like back in the day, and so
Right.
she like had to like spin it
Right.
to make it like, you know, like that
To
they
somehow get this guy out of the gutter.
to make people
Yeah.
like sympathize with him.
Jeez.
But yeah, it's really
You'd have to be a very good PR team to make that happen.
Oh, yeah.
That's wild.
Oh yeah. So all that stuff like that is like super fascinating to me.
Yeah.
I think also like
Have you seen House of Cards?
I have seen 5 seasons of House of Cards.
Oh wow. Okay. So you have seen House of
Yeah.
Cards, basically.
We started watching House of Cards.
Well, they shut down the show. I don't know how many seasons in.
I think it's 6 seasons.
Because something went down and then they had to shut down the show.
Yeah, Kevin Spacey.
Yeah. Was it too political?
It didn't have. Yeah, it was kind of.
It didn't have a balance.
Boring.
Okay.
If like, you know,
Mm-hmm. I was a political, like I had a political phase. I for sure did. Binge watched John Oliver. I watched The Right Wing, House of Cards. So I had like a very, very political
But that's
phase.
like very political. Like what I'm talking about is like Scandal and like stuff like that, where like politics is a part of it.
But there's like
it's
drama
also,
infused in
it's like
right?
a political drama, right?
Yeah.
Like 24, when I talked about 24 for like an hour last time. So like a lot of those shows, like they have like that political element, but then they also have you ever seen The Blacklist?
Nope.
Such a good show. So good. Dude, Blacklist, Person of Interest, and How to Get Away with Murder are my top 3s.
Nice.
Like that is like my top 3. Like if I was going to like a deserted
Rewatch it
island,
again kind of thing?
I would
Okay.
watch it over and over again. I actually haven't gone back and watched Person of Interest. Maybe I'll go back and watch it.
So, okay. So speaking of top 3s, I was thinking in my head, like what would be my top 3, but I feel like you would be able to easily guess that. Umbrella Academy.
Umbrella Academy's really good.
3 Body Problem for sure, and definitely like try it. At least try it. Just give it a little bit, you know, like give it some sugar. Because trust me, it does have the drama aspect in it as well. So kind of, I don't know, not really, but it's
And
really.
then what would be number 3?
Number 3 would probably be Stranger Things.
Stranger Things.
Because I'm a retro girly. I love everything retro, vintage. And so that brought science and retro together. And that was like very huge for me. So I would definitely like Stranger Things is definitely in the top 3. So it's crazy how like mine is like more sci-fi, techie. And then
I mean, I love Stranger Things. Stranger Things is one of my favorite shows of all time. But as far as like, I think like what I would go back and watch multiple times. Because like the thing is also like Stranger Things, when we watched it together, like I was in it, dude. I was like, I was watching, I was focused. My phone
Right.
was, I have no idea where my phone
Yeah.
was.
Uh-huh.
Right. So I think I retained a lot more
Yeah.
versus like when you're watching, like, you know, something like how to Get Away with Murder was kind of like that
Yeah.
too, where like my phone was like, if my phone is nowhere in sight, I don't know where it is.
I feel like the production value is so good now
Yeah.
with these shows.
Yeah.
And they know not to fluff up the episodes. Like they take
Yeah.
out things that are not necessary.
But also I think that has a lot to do with like binge culture and like binge watching, because
Yeah.
like Scandal is kind of like not like that at all, because Scandal was like a show that aired every single week, so you
I
did
see.
need that fluff, right?
That's true.
So like if like now when you're binge watching, you're kind of like not paying as much attention,
Right.
whereas shows that were formulated for Netflix or streaming services,
Right.
I feel like they're formulated in a way where they cut out a lot of like
They
the
don't need any
unnecessary
filler
bullshit.
episodes.
The formulation differences
Mm-hmm.
make a huge difference as to like if it was formulated for TV
Mm-hmm.
or if it was formulated for like.
But nowadays everything is formulated for streaming
Yeah, and
because
so,
that's
but
what
even the switch from like
trending.
24 episodes to 10 episodes,
Uh-huh.
right? I
Right.
feel like you can tell a story in a more efficient way.
Yeah, I've been seeing that trend across like K-dramas too. I've been watching a lot of Korean dramas, and every one of them I can literally binge. It's like within a 10 episode span,
Yeah.
or like a span of like 20 episodes max.
Also, you can binge like 10 episodes if they're like 45-minute episodes.
Yeah.
You could do that in one day.
I know. I
That's
know.
tough.
I know because I've done it.
That's
It's
tough.
seriously.
That's why I love shows like Gilmore Girls, though. Have you ever seen Gilmore Girls?
I've started it. I didn't really finish.
Yeah, I would be very surprised if it was up your alley.
Yeah. No, I mean I've seen I've seen Friends. I've seen How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, but those are like cult classics.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Gilmore Girls is
Gilmore-
considered a cult classic.
It is considered
Yeah.
a cult classic.
Yeah.
It is.
I just never like got into it.
It's kind of girly and
Yeah.
it gets slow at some points.
Yeah.
So it's also like a teen drama. Did you ever watch Vampire Diaries? No, never.
No.
Dude, I didn't think that I.
My
would be
cousin is
into
so
it.
into Vampire Diaries.
Dude, people who like they like Vampire Diaries. I didn't
I
realize
can't.
that was a thing.
I can't.
I got into it. It's I wasn't a very big like. Did you
It
ever
was
like,
too fake for me.
You-
It was not my kind of sci-fi.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's for sure.
I'll be nice.
Did you watch like Twilight and stuff?
I mean, I did.
Because
But it
Twilight was
wasn't-
like prime.
It was really
our
big,
generation,
right?
Yeah.
I read the books, but the movies, like I don't even think I watched all the movies.
I didn't.
I watched maybe the first two.
I was obviously a Harry Potter girly.
Harry Potter all the way.
I did not watch Twilight.
Harry Potter, I bought all the books as they came out. I watched the movies.
When I was a kid,
Yeah.
like you either like Twilight or you like Harry Potter, and you didn't like both.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe there is somebody who
Harry
likes
Potter
both.
was a vibe, dude.
But from what I remember, it was one or the other. So
I was definitely on side Harry Potter.
yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, all of that to say, the things that keep me up at night are things that I spiral about. So what?
Wait,
keeps,
what did keep you up at night? What was
Prisoner's
this?
Dilemma?
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah,
lack
yeah,
of
yeah.
information.
The game
I don't
theory.
know how we got to TV shows.
That's just how we do.
But we did.
I think you can like kind of sort of guess based off of the whole conversation we've been having about our preferences and everything. Because of my engineering degree, I was exposed to a lot of like scientific topics and the physics of life and the world. And one thing that we learned in quantum physics is insane, by the way, basically is a class that tells you that everything that you learned was essentially a lie. I can elaborate on that. Obviously gravity is still a thing. Quantum entanglement, yeah. So that's what keeps me up at night. Essentially, the more you study like the fundamentals of physics, like you go smaller and smaller and smaller, right? So there's us. Then there are the atoms that make us. And we have the protons, the electrons, and neutrons, right? So as we are now, everything works fine. Like the physics works, all the equations that we've been learning in classes, they all work, they're cool, they're dandy. But the crazy part is that the smaller we get, right? The smaller we get, things get a little wild, a little crazy. And so have you heard of wave particle duality at all?
No.
So there was an experiment done on a particle, on an electron, right? I believe it was an electron. It was a particle, a very, very tiny particle, right? And essentially they were testing, they shot that particle through a slit. So like a physical slit. So think of like a cardboard box. Yes. Double slit. I think our AV guy needs a mic.
He has his mic. You can hook it up.
Yeah, but wait. Okay, so I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So it gets really crazy. Okay, so there was an experiment done where there's a cardboard box and there were two slits. It's called a double slit experiment because there are two slits and a particle was shot through it, right? So when it was not being observed, meaning there was not a camera looking straight at the particle and watching the particle go through the experiment, the other side, when it was like when it displayed on that backboard that they had, it showed as a wave. It popped up as a wave, right? Now, do we see waves as physical things? No, we don't. If we see a particle going through something, we're going to assume that it shows up as a dot, right? We shoot a particle, it smashes as a particle on that cardboard. But it showed up as a wave. There was interference lines. And interference lines, for example, let's just say we're in a lake and you ripple, like, you splash the water and it ripples out. You see how it's like circular sort of arch motions? That's called interference, right? And so, and the waves get bigger and bigger as they like spread out. And how there's like waves and stuff. There's dips and then there's hills, right? Mm-hmm. So that was being displayed on that cardboard box. And we were just like, whoa, dude, this is a physical particle. How is it showing attributes as if it was a wave? I hope I'm making sense because I'm not the well-versed in this. So explaining
also,
it isn't
disclaimer, if you're on this podcast telling us, oh, that's not X, Y, and Z, this is the most basic understanding, okay? We're just
I am
here.
No scientist.
We're here.
I am not a particle
on the
physicist.
internet, okay?
So whatever I know is like very general knowledge. And if I do say something wrong, please correct me. But anyway, essentially at the end of the day, they were like, okay, we got to see what's going on. Something's up. So they put a camera on the dude and they're like, okay, we're going to watch it. There's a spectator, right? We were watching that particle. When they watched it, when they observed it, guess what it did? It behaved as a particle. So this was crazy for a lot of reasons, but the behavior of that particle was changing based off of if it was being watched or not, if it was being observed or not. This is something that scientists are still baffled by. And then quantum theory and quantum mechanics is here to try to answer those questions. Gravity has really effed everything up because there are particles out there that are invisible. We can't even measure them yet, but we know they exist. Dark matter, right? So there's like a whole field based around stuff that we do not know. And so what really does keep me up at night, or like regarding, all of this, right? There's something called quantum entanglement. This is what I actually wanted to get to, but I wanted to talk about the wave particle duality first because it's all kind of connected and they're trying to find a way to piece everything together. And like, how does, the unifying theory, the theory of everything, that's what they call it. And there's no theory of everything right now. They have string theory as a possible solution, simulation theory. There's a bunch of different theories out there, but none of them sort of mix into one. There's always something that's off about one of them. And so that's where we are at as scientists right now. Yeah. So it's really crazy. It's insane. But what I wanted to talk about,
you haven't even gotten to what you needed to talk about.
But what really keeps me up at night is quantum entanglement. And essentially, like, in the simplest terms, if you're over here and I'm over here, right? Have you seen that one magic trick where they blindfold two people and they're both sitting next to each other, but like far away to the point where they can't really touch or interact? And the guy, the magician, taps on a shoulder and then asks the other dude, yo, where did you feel that tap? And the dude was like, oh, I felt it on my shoulder, right? And everyone's like, oh my God, gasp, this is magic. That is actually happening with particles in our universe, where they are far enough to the point where they don't really have any ways to communicate with each other, but one particle acts based off of how the other particle
did you ever
exists.
watch Manifest?
Is that the one with the airplane?
Yes.
I started it.
They had like a piece of the plane. and the behaving a certain way on the coast of Cuba, and then it was behaving like the same way in like
there we go. That's
in a lab somewhere
yeah.
else that
It's the
was like
same
far away.
same idea. And isn't that just crazy to you to think that like basically like it's like the spin of the particle, right? It's not like an actual spinning particle, but that's as closely as we can sort of describe what that attribute is of the particle.
I mean,
There's something called a spin. There's a particle in Japan because I was just in Japan. There's a particle here, right? There's two particles. They are somehow entangled with each other despite the distance, to the point where if we put a spin on this particle in a certain way, it has a certain spin to it, the other one will show a very specific behavior, even though they can't see each other, they can't interact with each other, and they are so far away from each other. And so that's what really freaks me out, is the fact that everything we have ever known about physics, about cause and effect, right, everything, it doesn't make sense anymore. And this is reality. And we're living in this reality day in and day out. People are worrying about bills and everyday things. What am I going to eat for lunch? Oh, I ran out of eggs. Whatever it is, right? We're thinking about all these small things where in the back of my head, I'm just like, there are so many unanswered questions about this world that we do not know. And that really scares me because, you know, obviously things that you do not know are scary and you obviously want to know. But, and it just makes me laugh because there are kids out there, engineers, whatever, working their daily jobs, coding away, acting like they're the shit. There is this thing going on where engineers just think, you know, like, oh, I am the coolest guy on the planet. But in reality, real scientists know that they know nothing about this world because of all these concepts that are coming out and all the new sciences and the discoveries that we are coming out with. It's crazy.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is why I did not ever delve into science. Because do you know how heartbreaking it must feel to go to school for years and years and years, get to wherever you're getting to, only to realize that you know absolutely nothing? That to me would shatter my entire world, and I would not be able to deal.
I think it's a very like humanly egotistical thing to think like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Like, you know, we're just so self-centered. We think we are the best, right?
Not even that, but I'm saying like
just in general as a society, we think that the human race is. Come on, look at.
I agree with you on that,
Yeah.
but I'm saying like in the sense of like for me, I would be like, okay, like I know about like econ, right?
Right.
And if one day there was like an economic study that came out, right, that eradicated everything that I thought I knew about econ, that would shatter my world a little bit, right? It's not even that I know everything, it's that I know something. Right? I think the suckiest part about like science is like there are really no empirical truths.
So I have a different approach to this because as the sci-fi is becoming a little less fi and a little more sci, that is really romantic to me, and in a way where it's just like we don't know what we don't know, and that's okay. But at the same time, it's just like there's more to this world than we think. You know, we're so sure about things, but then we get proven wrong. Yeah. So then what else is wrong? Yeah. What else do we not know? Right? So the spiritual realm, for example, there are a lot of believers out there and a lot of people saying, no, ghosts are not real.
I have we could do a whole episode on that.
So it's just like, but scientific, like speaking as, you know, speaking from the degree that I've come from, we know that matter, energy is not created or destroyed, right? It cannot be created from scratch. It cannot be destroyed to nothingness. So where does that energy go? Does it go back into the planet? What does it look like after it's, you know, after it's done with the current form, right? So there's just so many questions out there, and I think for me it's a very magical thing that there is magic in this world. It's not Harry Potter magic, it's not, you know, the kind of magic that we see in movies, but you know, the magic in science, it's there if we want to see it. And it is daunting because obviously we don't know what the hell is going on. But I love the fact that there is magic, even if people fail to see it that way, because you know, otherwise life would just be so mundane because we know literally everything. Being so sure about something makes that thing kind of boring. It does kind of take the magic away. So in that sense, I see it in a very romantic sort of point of view where it's just like, holy shit, there could be multiverses. There could be a universe out there where I am president. There could be a universe out there where I am struggling my ass off and I am, you know, living in a cardboard box somewhere.
Have you ever seen Flash?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yep.
I think for
I'm
me,
a classified nerd for that.
I think
for that show.
I think for me personally, like for me, like watching Flash was such a it was like a gut-wrenching experience because I think when you lose a parent, you always think about, oh, like, you know, what could have been, and like the last scene where he's like, you know, sitting there and he's like, no, I can do it, I can save my mom, and I can save everything.
Right.
I think that feeling was just like too hard, and I think that, like, to me, like, dude, I was sobbing the entire time I was watching that movie. It was like such a hard, like, it wasn't such a hard thing to watch, it was just such a hard thing to kind of accept.
Do you believe that things are predetermined in life, our life?
I don't know, because that's what like religion and stuff has taught me to believe.
Predetermination versus free will. That really hit a chord with you, huh? That movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and I think that's why I don't like the whole time travel thing.
Yeah.
I can't do it. But also, like, the other thing is, like, it does give me some type of solace to know that there is a world where my dad is still alive.
Yeah.
You know, there's still a universe that exists, right? Yeah. If we have infinite possibilities of whatever, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that so? I think that to
there
me
is yeah.
I think that to me is comforting. And again, like all of this stuff is like what you make of it, right? Like however you apply it, and like to me that like for paradox and stuff like that is what I've kind of like made with it.
No, it's fair.
I think science is really interesting. I think it's really cool that, like, you know, you kind of see the magic. I think for me, I have a personality where I would just spiral forever. And I don't even think it's ego's too big. I think it's more so when I start thinking about things that have there's no snap
safety
to
net.
reality.
Yeah.
Right? There's no, if this is like, if it's a bottomless pit,
right,
does it ever end type of thing, right? And that to me would just be, I would never be able to come out of it.
I think it's a very, like, you know, it's very easy to have an existential crisis after sort of seeing what science is now. I hear you and I get it. I think it takes a lot of sort of sitting with yourself and coming to terms with what reality is. And, you know, when we've only seen one type of reality, it's very easy to freak out and get stressed because we don't know how to solve this. Yeah. We don't know how to solve this immediately.
Well, also, like, my thing is, like, is there anything that we know for a fact? No, right? And so that to me is just like just like it's magical for you. That to me is like so scary because it's like we don't know anything. Right? And I think again, as
like,
somebody,
we don't know the seconds before the Big Bang Theory. We only know if
exactly,
there was,
right? And so that, but that goes back into what I was saying of like information, right? So to me, like, it's so scary not to have any sort of information, right? Yeah. And so that's why, to me, like, again, scientists are really cool. You guys are doing, like, you know, like, so many favors, like physics, cool, whatever. Like, to me, I just know with my personality,
you just want to keep your peace, right?
I'm like, I need
Ignorance
to
is bliss.
know. Ignorance
is bliss.
110%.
Yeah.
I need to know that there are certain things that are empirical truths in my world.
I think what's really helped me navigate my life and all, like, the struggles that I've gone through is the fact that there is much more to this world that we give it than we you know, give it credit for. So, you know, the everyday lives, sure, right? But at the end of the day, we are just tiny specks in this ever expanding universe, possibly multiverse. Free falling in space. That is actually very true.
Dude, we're
not still right now. We are moving. So
I'm
it's
not
insane.
disagreeing with you.
Oh yeah, no.
I'm just saying, like, for me personally,
Yeah.
I need some solace. I
Right.
need my foot to hit the bottom of the swimming pool at
Right.
some point. You know
I
what
don't
mean?
think there are any wrong answers. I think it's just what fascinates us and
Yeah.
what
And
really keeps us grounded.
I think like the
Yeah.
other day that we were talking about like the pursuit to constantly like grow and evolve and learn.
Yeah.
I think that is to me at least
Yeah.
like the most pure ambition, because it's
Yeah.
like if you're constantly wanting to like move, like grow and evolve and learn about things that are outside of your comfort
Right.
zone, I think that is like the only thing that you can really do.
I agree.
You know,
And having curiosity is honestly the best thing that can happen to somebody.
and asking questions. Asking
my opinion,
questions is such a valid thing.
you want to broaden your mindset as much as you can. And I feel like
Exactly.
just learning about the world around you is like, it's a really great first step.
Yeah.
I know
And,
that's
like,
a very broad term,
but
it applies to so many things.
exactly.
Yeah.
But even how we were talking about the other day of like you know, even learning about yourself.
Yeah.
Like that is endless.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So it's like the pursuit of anything
Right.
is endless. Right. And
Isn't
to
it
me-
crazy how many different there are like so many paths that we can focus on? Like even in this podcast, right? We go from science to philosophy. And philosophy is more on the artsy side, on the creative side, right? So it's just like, for me, it's really cool to be able to mesh those two together, or at least intertwine them in a way where one, we know that neither one is more important than the other, because, you know, without art, we wouldn't have civilization, we wouldn't have society, we wouldn't be able to grow and build the way we do, right? Otherwise, we'd be looking like freaking Toon Towns. You know the gray buildings. You know which the cog machine buildings or whatever. Yeah, we'd be looking like that if we didn't have art, right? So it's just like some people do focus on one more than the other, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. But maybe finding that balance in this life would really help, sort of accentuate like the beauty. It would really help elaborate why we are here on this earth, and it's really to find that balance between the two.
All of that to say we are smart over here, okay? We don't just shoot the shit just cause, and we're not just a bunch of pretty faces.
The thing is, there's a lot of stuff running in my brain, and I'm pretty sure it's the same for you.
Oh yeah.
Like for me, it's more of like the bigger curiosity that our life has to offer. And literally, dude, like I'm gonna sound like a geek for this, but I go to sleep to these nerdy YouTube videos that talk about quantum entanglement. And is that also our AV guy? Yeah, it's weird to say, but it's just so interesting because it's something we don't know about.
Literally the other night, he like fell asleep to something being like, all the reasons why our world is X, Y, and Z. And I was like, shut up, dude. Put something positive on.
I know.
And like move, like again, like falling asleep.
It tickles the brain.
Like what you fall asleep to is really like important because
Right.
like I think.
But
that
I wouldn't
influences, like,
say
your
those.
dreams and stuff.
I don't. I necessarily like. Okay, I don't know what YouTube video you were talking about, right? But a lot of
It's
those
something random.
aren't necessarily negative.
It's not negative, but
I
I'm
would
saying
say
like
they're-
it's gonna help you like spiral in your dreams even.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why my life is a mess right now.
I stopped
Kinda crazy.
I stopped consuming like, and this is kind of like more on a spiritual plane.
Mm-hmm.
Like I stopped consuming a lot of like, dude, I was watching true crime like stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
All the time.
Right.
Right? Like I was like 24/7 every waking moment I was
Yeah.
watching something true crime.
Yeah.
Bro, it was so unhealthy. I started having really bad dreams. I
Yeah.
started to have panic attacks.
Yeah.
Started to have anxiety, all these things. And
Yeah.
then I was like, maybe what I'm feeding my ears or my soul is
Mhm.
probably important.
I can relate to that.
And so
Yeah.
then I started like, you know, watching podcasts and stuff like that. And like
Yeah.
a lot of the podcasts that I watch are like very surface level podcasts. They're not like, you know, super whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And even the type of shows that I watch are
Mhm.
very like, I went through like a cleansing phase where all I watched was sitcoms.
Mm-hmm.
I watched a lot of stuff with like laugh tracks because I think that like, you know, like joy is created.
Right.
And so to me, like I tried to taper like what
Yeah.
what I feed.
As a kid,
I'm not like I'm not above it. Like I'm
Right.
not, because like again, like I know people who are like, my body's a temple, and
Yeah.
I want to sucker punch people in the face when they have that
there's
attitude.
there's a good like balance in life,
Yeah,
and finding that moderation is it's where you want to be.
Yeah, because I can't watch horror shows and I can't watch sad movies.
I had a phase where I would watch Ghost Adventures and I would binge watch it. And this was when I was like a huge believer in ghosts and the spiritual world and demons and all that good stuff, because it really enticed me. It really intrigued me. My curious was piqued. Like, is there another world? Is there
Your
more out
curious
there?
was piqued?
Yeah, it was piqued.
Your curiosity
Curiosity
was piqued?
piqued. Yeah, my curious brain was piqued. Okay,
Your curious
my
was
curiosity was piqued. Yeah, you know what I mean. Why say more words when less words do
No,
trick?
because when I go back and edit, I'm gonna be like, and you're gonna
Her
be like, why'd
curious
you
was
make me look
piqued.
dumb? Like, no.
Nah, bro, I do that to myself.
That's what you said.
And I've accepted my fate in this society. I will let you guys have it. But no, so I would watch like Ghost Adventures like there was no tomorrow, right? And of course, that show is staged to the max. Okay, like I don't know if any of it is real. I don't know if any of the stuff they capture is actually real, but I know a lot of it is staged. So, after watching it, I would actually start having night terrors and I would freeze up. What's that thing that happens when
Sleep paralysis?
Yeah, I would have sleep paralysis. And that happened to me a couple of times. I would also sleepwalk. I would also like talk in my sleep. So obviously my brain was busy at night. It was very busy. It was getting all the information that I sucked in during the day, that I absorbed through the day, and it would try to process it while I was asleep. And it showed up in the worst ways, right? It was crazy. Sleep paralysis is really scary if you experience it. I had somebody like whispering, like, like Slytherin, like, I don't even, not Slytherin, but like, parcel tongue. There was like some mofo up in my face at night and I was frozen and he was speaking parcel tongue with me and I was just staring at him like, bro, I can't move. This is scary. I'm going to die. It was scary. But anyway, ever
terrifying.
since, I got into my gym routine and started watching less of Ghost Adventures because, I actually became agnostic at one point between my college years, transitioning from college to my late 20s. But I do identify as agnostic now. And, I sort of became more focused on the sciences of the world and finding romance in that and still having a healthy spiritual sort of side of me. But anyway, not the point. I've been seeing less of the scary sides of the night terrors and nightmares and all that good stuff. So
You probably haven't seen it, but have you ever seen The Sky Is Pink?
No.
Priyanka Chopra's in that as well, right?
No wonder.
But again, me, like, I need to stop acting like I don't know myself, because I started watching this movie and
Is it a horror movie or
no? It's just really, really, really sad.
Okay.
And I can't do sad movies, dude. Like, if I watch sad movies, I will spiral for weeks.
Okay.
Weeks.
You'll dwell on it.
So
right?
I watched this movie. First of all, I'm like 10 minutes into this, right? And I like come outside and I'm like telling me, I'm like, oh my God. I was like, this is gonna be a really sad movie, right? And he's like, okay, well, do you want to watch it? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, okay. So I go back inside. I'm watching. I'm halfway through the movie. I come outside. I'm like just tears streaming down my face.
Oh no.
I'm like, it's so sad. And
Yeah.
he's like, stop watching it. And I was like, no, I need to know how it ends.
Yeah.
I come outside after it ends, sobbing.
What was it about?
Sobbing.
Like, what was the premise?
It's about a little girl who has cancer. And it's talking about how like her, like basically like Priyanka Chopra, and I forgot who the dad is. They basically like, do everything that they can to get her like, the right type of like treatment and everything. And they like, they're separated as well because like they come to America. And they're setting stuff up so that she can come to America so that she can get treatment. And it's just like her kind of like coming like to terms with like her own mortality. And then,
that sounds like a very raw.
Yeah, and then she dies, and then
raw
like like
movie.
the mom and dad have to kind of deal with emotions and everything, and it was so sad.
Because not everything is a happy ending, right?
It
Not
was
every story
so
ends happy.
sad. Like for me, bro, I'm like Phoebe from Friends, where like she watches the Old Yeller.
Yeah. Oh.
Nope. Absolutely not. I need a happy ending. I need a happy ending, and I need it to be built in because
Yeah.
I cannot, bro. I will like just knowing myself and like how, like, dude, I used to watch sad movies all the time, and I was so depressed, and I was like, I can't. I am a direct reflection of what I am watching. Like even you know what's a really good example is Galunk. Have you ever seen? I think we talked about it last time.
No.
So Galunk is really sad because it's like it's on the eve of the partition, right?
Okay.
And so at the end, there's like a lot of like sadness that happens, right? And so, but the first like 2/3 of the movie is like very beautiful. It's very like. It talks about like real issues, but it's not like sad. It's more so like backstory and stuff like that. So there is a point like I know exactly what minute and second I need to stop the movie. And so whenever I go back and watch it, I only watch it till that point.
Really? That
Yeah.
bad?
Yeah.
That's crazy, dude.
Another movie that I do the same thing with. It's another like Bollywood movie. I forgot what it's called.
So I have to admit, like hearing you have to stop movies because it gets way too emotional, it is getting me jealous because I have been so desensitized, and I don't know if it's because of my past traumas. I don't know what it is, but I don't cry to movies. I don't cry to situations.
Bro, you know what's crazy?
The only time I've really cried watching a movie was A Quiet Place, and that was because her dad, like at the end, like he basically sacrificed himself. So when it's like something that hits so close to home, I think I'm finally able to tap into that emotional side. But it's just like, as empathetic as I am, I think that empathy really, like that over empathy, I don't know the word for that, but like having too much empathy is a thing, and I have it, but it's not because I'm just an empathetic person. I think it does come from my past traumas, just to like really speak on it, just to really like hone in on why I am the way I am, right? So that's like the Pisces side of me. But it sucks because if I were to cry to something, it would take a lot. And I wish I could.
I
really wish I could.
I never cried at movies. I used to think my mom was so like funny when she would cry for movies and stuff. And then I turned like 25.
Okay.
And like something happened. I think my brain finished developing. And dude,
Yeah.
I cried at the end of Barbie. Have you seen Barbie?
Yeah.
I cried at the end of Barbie.
Oh, okay. That, yeah.
I cried.
It's a relatable, very relatable
cried
speech.
at the end of Flash, obviously. I was sobbing through the entire movie. There was another movie
It's
that
good.
like,
It's healthy.
it's
really healthy.
There was another movie that made me cry really hard. I don't remember what it was though. It was a movie that we went to go see in theaters. But yeah, like movies will make me cry. And
one
I'm
movie
not afraid
that
of
I do remember, I had shed some tears besides A Quiet Place. It was called I think it was Hotel Mumbai. It's the one where the terrorist attack happened on the Taj Hotel.
No,
Delhi,
isn't that Phantom something?
There was a movie that came out a couple years ago.
Is it the one with Saif Ali Khan with?
No.
Oh, okay.
So this one came out a couple of years ago. I don't really know the actors who played in it, but you know the guy who played Monkey Man? He was actually in
Yeah, but
he was in that movie. He
the
played
one
the
that
leader.
I'm thinking of, it's called Phantom. I think it's called Phantom, if I'm not mistaken.
Was that based off of that terrorist attack?
Yeah, it was based on the terrorist attack on the Taj Hotel.
So there was another movie, and it was I think that may have the one that I'm talking about came out only 4 or 5 years ago. Like it's not too old, but yeah. So that movie, I did cry because I don't even know. I don't even know at what point I did. I think it was just the fact that there was just so many helpless citizens that got mixed up in the crossfire of politics, and that just I think it was like pissed off tears more than anything.
Partition movies, hands down.
Oh yeah, partition
Sobbing.
movies, yeah.
Sobbing.
Yeah.
There isn't a single partition movie where I haven't been like broken down crying.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
That time of history is just
and the partition movies are just so fresh too to our parents, right?
Yeah.
So this just happened. It's not something that happened like hundreds of years ago or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
There are so many movies that touch on like historical battles and whatnot.
Yeah.
This is so fresh to our parents, right? And our grandparents. Yeah. And it's just like I'm able to I'm able to relate only through my grandparents because they have told me stories about how they had to flee and leave people behind and all that. But yeah.
All of that to say,
Yeah, so that was that's what keeps me up at night.
Yeah.
All of that keeps me up at night.
This episode is gonna keep me up at night. If I'm being honest with you.
Honestly, if anybody is still watching, like, props to you.
Dude, shout out to you. You're
true
a real
fans.
one.
We appreciate you.
But yeah, that is all that we have for you guys today.
Do comment on literally anything we talked about.
What keeps you up at night?
Give us the 411.
We will definitely be doing more of these. We're gonna make this into a series.
Yeah, because a lot of stuff keeps us
I thought
up
of like 6 just in the time
really?
that yeah.
We were supposed to be brainstorming.
Yeah, so like no, I thought of 6 just in the time that we've been talking. So we will definitely make this a series, so you will be seeing more of this. Let us know what you guys, if you guys have any sort of opinions on anything that we said. If you guys want to geek out with Manprit, if you want to geek out with me, let us know.
I feel like there's gonna be like 2 types of fans that relate more with you, and like some that will relate more with me. And I'm very interested to see.
It's like the Do We Know Them podcast, where like some of them know Jessie, and then the other one they're like, oh, the other girl.
What?
Like,
wait, what?
Yeah, so like
there's 2 girls.
Yeah,
why would they do that?
They call Lily the other girl.
That's so
sometimes.
mean.
Yeah.
Why is Lily irrelevant?
I don't know.
I'm gonna go show Lily some love.
Please, Lily
right.
Marston.
Yeah.
Jessie Smiles on the Do We Know Them podcast. But we have to go. Thank you so much for sticking around. It has been quite the ride. We have been rambling for
a long time.
But we appreciate you being here. We appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with us. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And we will see you in a video super, super soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. What she said.